Let's talk about whether or not there could be any real issue with the election and its aftermath for markets, or is this just noise in the long term?
So certainly there will be impacts from the election. I think that we've seen that repeated multiple times in past electoral cycles. Markets tend to respond by sort of reassessing risk, reassessing where they expect regulation to go, where they expect fiscal policy to go. We're seeing some early signs now that markets are starting to shift and see a potential Biden win as a net positive. That might be more of a long-term view. Certainly short-term, there's still a risk that the election is going to drive somewhat of some negative sentiment among investors who are wary of change and wary of the uncertainty that brings.
All right. The point that I've heard brought up is a notion that, yes, this is a crisis response. The deficits that we've been racking up over the course of the last 6 to 9 months have been to kind of combat the virus, to provide aid for Americans. But the deficits do matter long term for some people. Is the U.S. in a position to be able to recover from this, given the fact that we are spending on the credit card, in essence?
So I think that we certainly are. I think that the way that we're looking at this and the way that a lot of our clients, most of the investors that we're speaking to, look at this is to say that, yes, there should be concern and thought given to the increasing deficit, but that the long-term implications of sort of a lack of stimulus, the long-term implications of not spending that money in terms of lost economic growth, continued decline in certain sectors, potential sort of long-term implications in terms of employment, social mobility, things like that, those all outweigh the negative deficit implications of spending that money today. Now, certainly that doesn't mean that you should go off and spend an infinite amount of money. There is an upper limit, but we're still at a place now where spending money currently seems to provide more benefit than sort of waiting and pushing back over deficit concerns.
All right, Clayton, before we let you go, the big issue right now is in a normal election cycle, what we call normal, we would be talking about some of the industries, the types of companies, the sectors that could be doing better or worse given certain administrations or congressional makeups. What exactly does it look like? What are the odds, and what businesses maybe tend to do better or worse given possibly either a President Trump win or a Joe Biden win?
Well, I got to hand it to you. That's a very expansive question. I would say that to really kind of give you a concise answer, it seems right now that under a Biden administration, industries where you might see some gains would be certainly clean tech, clean energy. That's a real cornerstone of Biden's plans. I think that in general, consumer retail and a host of other sectors would do better with the assumption, which I think is pretty widely held at this point, that a Biden administration would bring more stimulus, more support for household incomes and consumer spending. So certainly you would expect there to be benefits there as well.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.